Last 2 weeks we've been going over Surah Yusuf. Inshallah, we will continue from where we left off. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "And the king said, I saw in a dream 7 healthy cows whom 7 lean cows were eating, and 7 green ears of corn and 7 others dry. O court members, explain my dream if you can interpret dreams." They answered, "These are confused dreams." You know, like you have different types of dreams from Allah, from shaitan, and you have some dreams that are called khayali dreams, whatever you've been thinking about. So they said, "We do not know the interpretation of these kind of dreams." And one of the two, the one who was released, said, and after a long time he had remembered, "I will tell you its interpretation, therefore send me forth." So you remember the 2 prisoners, one of them was freed, and Yusuf alayhi salam told him, "Remember me," but he forgot. This is now 7 years after this now. He remembered Yusuf alayhi salam. So he comes to Yusuf alayhi salam and he says, "Oh Yusuf, truthful one, explain for us this dream regarding the 7 cows." And he said, "So I may return to the people, possibly they may come to know." He said, "You will cultivate for 7 years continuously." This is what Yusuf alayhi salam said. And he said, "Jo fasal kaato, balon mein rehne do, magar thoda jo khane mein aaye." He told them, these 7 years you will cultivate, leave all that you harvest in the year except a little which you eat. Then after that will come 7 hard years, and which will devour all that you had stored for them except a little which you may save, beej ke vaste, for the seed. Then after that will come a year when the people will be given rain, and in which they will extract juices." The king said, "Bring him to me." So when the bearer came to him, Yusuf alayhi salam said, "Return to your Lord and ask him, what is the status of the women who had cut their hands? Indeed, my Lord knows their deception." So Yusuf alayhi salam, he never mentioned Zulaykha's name. Rather, he said the women. And this is because Zulaykha, she kept him in her home. Also, if she alone was investigated upon, then humiliation would have been far greater. Like if there's a class of students, if one student is investigated, one student gets in trouble, then that humiliation is far worse than if the whole class is in trouble. The Prophet ﷺ said, "If I was told to leave having spent the years Yusuf alayhi salam did in jail, I would leave." Yusuf alayhi salam was known for his sabr, for his patience. Also, we never know, like the king said, "Okay, bring him." So we never know, like the king's mind can change. So if you're in this kind of situation, then you should leave as you can. Yusuf alayhi salam perhaps knew that this delay won't harm him, but we don't know about ourselves. So this is why if we're ever in this situation, Allah forbid, then we should leave as we can. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says from verse 51, the king said, "O women, what was your role when you tried to entice Yusuf alayhi salam?" They answered, "Purity is to Allah. We did not find any immorality in him." And then this is when Zulaykha spoke. The wife of the governor, she then said, "Now the truth is out. It was I who tried to entice him, and indeed he is truthful." And Yusuf alayhi salam, he said, "I did this so that the governor may realize that I did not betray him behind his back, And Allah does not let the deceit of betrayers be successful. And then Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, I do not portray my soul as innocent. Undoubtedly, the soul, the nafs, excessively commands towards evil, except upon whom my Lord has mercy. Indeed, my Lord is most forgiving, most merciful. Inna Rabbi Ghafurur Rahim. What we learn from these verses is, from the king's question, we learn even he knew Yusuf alayhi salam was innocent. And we also learn to fulfill the mission of special servants, Allah Rabbul Alameen, He arranges asbab. He arranges the means. Like the king had the dream, and then what the prisoner, he remembered Yusuf alayhi salam this way. Because of this prisoner, one of the two prisoners that was freed, Yusuf alayhi salam had to stay 7 more years in prison. Never mind criticize or shout at this individual. Yusuf alayhi salam didn't even ask, did you forget me? He didn't even mention. This was the character of Yusuf alayhi salam. And this is something that we learn about our beloved Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Anas radiallahu anhu, he says, 10 years I served the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Never ever said anything to me. Never ever questioned me. Why did you do this? Or if I left something, never questioned me, why did you leave this? So this is the character of the Prophets alayhi wasallam. Peace be upon all of them. So if we just say we were in this situation, we told someone and they forgot, we get really offended. And we say and we remind them, what did I say to you? Didn't you remember? Did you do this deliberately? We should learn from these stories and from the character, from the good ethics of the Anbiya alayhimus salam. Also, we learn that we shouldn't give a chance to people to hold bad assumptions regarding us. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam ने फरमाया तोहमत के मौक़े से भी बचो. You know, even the places in which you will go and people will accuse you, stay away from the chance as well that people hold bad assumptions about you. Once our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was walking with one of his wives, and he told the companions, so and so is with me. So people don't assume that he's walking with a strange woman. So after being released, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, he didn't take revenge from those that were the means of him going into prison. Also we learn, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي. We shouldn't فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't mention your praise. Don't try to justify yourself as being pure as well. This is what we learn. Regarding the nafs, look, Yusuf alayhi salam, he said, if I've been saved, it's not because of my nafs or my soul, my ego, it's because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's upon whom Allah has mercy upon. So regarding the nafs, this is one nafs ammara, which orders to do evil. There's a nafs lawama, mulhima, and the most upgraded version, the best nafs is nafs mutma'inna, and we should all work to make our nafs mutma'inna. Regarding the nafs, the ego, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, what do you think of your friend? If you feed him, you give him clothes, you give him respect, he puts you in difficulty. And if you don't give him respect, you dishonor him, and you make him naked, you don't give him clothes, you starve him, he will be nice to you. The companions, may Allah be pleased with them, said, this is the worst friend. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, that is your nafs, that's your ego. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, your worst enemy is your ego. That gets you doing evil acts and then humiliates you, and then calamities, they come your way. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. We have two main enemies. One is shaitan and one is our nafs. And they work together. They collaborate. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Okay, continuing from here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي بِهِ. The king said, bring him to me so that I may choose him especially for myself. And when he had talked to him, they spoke to one another. The king said, indeed you are today before us the honorable, the trusted. You have your place here. And Yusuf alayhi salam said, appoint me over the treasures of the earth. Indeed I am a protector, knowledgeable. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, this is how we gave Yusuf the control over that land, to stay in it wherever he pleased. We may convey our mercy to whomever we will, and we do not waste the wages, the reward of the righteous. And undoubtedly the reward of the hereafter is better for those who accept faith and remain pious. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Regarding these verses, it's mentioned under these verses, the ulama, they say, when Yusuf alayhi salam left prison, he made dua for all those in prison. He did ghusl, he wore new clothes. And this was mentioned last week. Yusuf alayhi salam, he used to visit the prisoners. He used to see how they were doing, and he would look after them. He was nice to even criminals, those in prison. Yeah, and this is necessary. You know, those that commit sins or crimes, the teachers, they say we should see them, we should hate the sin but not the sinner. We should see them as like physical illnesses. So just say there's a patient, he has cancer, he has this illness, that illness. We have sympathy for them. Yeah. So we can't, like these kind of people, if they even come to the masjid, people who sin, we can't make them more distanced from the masjid. You know, let them come, and you know, you explain to them, you be nice to them, because this is the way that they will become inclined to you. When they become inclined to you, then you will be able to educate them. So Yusuf alayhi salam, those that had worries, he would go to them and he would give them advice, he would comfort them, console them. Those that weren't well, he would visit them, he would make dua for them, he would tell them that a time is going to come, you are going to be discharged from here. So don't worry. So this is how Yusuf alayhi salam, he would spend his day, and then during the night he would spend the night in the worship of Allah. And not only the prisoners, even the staff, even they were amazed by the piety of Yusuf alayhi salam. So when he left prison, he made dua for all those in jail. He did ghusl, he took a shower, he wore new clothes, and even when he entered the palace, he made dua, he made a prayer in Arabic, in Hebrew as well. And this is when the king heard the interpretation of his dream directly from Yusuf alayhi salam. And after some time, the governor, Aziz-e Misr, the husband of Zulaykha, the Aziz, the governor, he passed away. And so the king got Zulaykha married off to Yusuf alayhi salam. And they had two sons. And one day, Yusuf alayhi salam, Joseph, he asked Zulaykha, how come you don't love me like before? She said, through you, I've attained the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In front of that, other relations, they have weakened. One message that the ulama mentioned, the scholars, the predecessors mentioned under these verses is that we can't ask for a post. Yusuf alayhi salam, he said, "Ij'alni ala khaza'in al-ard." He said, appoint me over the treasures of the earth. So the scholars, the predecessors, they say that you can't ask for a post, but you can if there's no right, suitable candidate. You're the best for the role. And your intention isn't wealth or fame, rather your intention is khidmat-e khalq, is to serve the community. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, Man tawada'a lillah, rafa'ahu Allah. Yusuf alayhi salam, he was very, very humble. मिटा दे अपनी हस्ती को, अगर मर्तबा चाहे कि दाना खाक में मिलकर गुलो गुलजार होता है. You know, a seed lowers itself, it goes in the earth. Yeah? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises it. It becomes a tree, and humans, animals, they all benefit from its shade, from its fruits. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he didn't boast. You know, when he was freed, all them allegations were lifted, he didn't boast. You know, if we avoid sin, we should remember this is the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we acknowledge this when we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. So the ability to do good and the ability to abstain from sin, illa billah. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So regarding demanding a post, saying, look, I want to be on this position. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, don't do this. Don't demand the post. If you do, you won't have the help of Allah. Then you won't avoid mistakes. But rather, if you are elected, if you are given a post, you'll have the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will fulfill the demands. So after 1 year, the king, he held a really big ceremony in which Yusuf alayhi salam was given a crown. And not only was he now in charge of khaza'inul ard, the treasures of the world, or like the food supplies, he was given responsibility over all tasks. And he was the real king. And the king also embraced Islam. So 7 years passed by brilliantly through and via the blessings of Yusuf alayhi salam. And then the next 7 years were years of recession, major drought. And when they started, Yusuf alayhi salam, when those 7 years started, Yusuf alayhi salam stopped eating a lot, you know, until he was sarab, until he was full up, he stopped eating like that. And people said, you are in charge, all the food is in your control. And Yusuf alayhi salam said, I want to be able to feel the hunger of the normal people. Subhanallah. And this is what we learn about Ramadan. It's a month of consideration. So we are fasting, we are putting ourselves in the shoes of the needy. So look at this consideration of Yusuf alayhi salam. He even told the workers, he said that, you know, food will only be made once in the afternoon. So everyone in the palace can participate in the hunger of the masses, of the people. So today, how are we in those situations? You know, just say we've got the power. You know, what do we do? Is that something we do? Or do we give advice, different advice to others and act upon something else? You know, others, okay, if they are suffering, they are suffering. You know, we get a lot for ourselves, for our children. We start storing. No. This is the way, this is the way. Have your reliance upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and look after everyone. Sayyidul qawm fi safar khadimuhum. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, you know, the leader of the qawm, the nation, is the khadim. He's the one that serves them. And this is what we learn about Umar radiallahu anhu, at night, he used to say to Abdurrahman bin Auf, let's go. Some people have come. Let's go and serve them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this passion as well to serve the community. There are many, many narrations that that person isn't a believer, true believer. He eats to his fill and his neighbor is hungry. Yeah? So we have to have this consideration as well. We can't just think only zakah is necessary. No, there's other necessary acts as well, especially to do with wealth as well. Allah will say that I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was thirsty, you didn't give me any drink. So the servant, the bondsman of Allah will say, Allah, you don't eat, you don't drink. And Allah will say that my servant was hungry. My servant was thirsty. If you gave him, it would have been like you gave me. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Al-khalqu kulluhum. This creation is like ayarullah, is like the generation of Allah. Who is most beloved to Allah? Who is most beloved to the creation of Allah? These are the teachings of Islam. If you look at all the pillars of Islam, the duties, fasting, praying, giving charity, performing Hajj, they don't benefit Allah. They benefit us and they benefit the creation of Allah. Likewise, the sins, they don't harm Allah. They harm us, they harm the creation of Allah. So what does Allah want? Allah wants us to be decent human beings, decent Muslims. Allah Rabbul Alameen give us all the true understanding. وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ وَعَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ وَإِلَيْهِ أُنِيبُ.